Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am Lanolin, and we are back with episode 102 of my modded Minecraft Let's Play series. In this episode, we're going to continue on with our expansion of our applied Energistics system, along with trying to get that same system to a point where we can auto-craft pretty much anything that we want. For the most part, we have to set everything up first, but you know what I mean. However, last episode, I kind of jumped ahead of myself a little bit in saying that we're going to work on trying to get our molecular assemblers set up and our interfaces and all that fun stuff so we can autocraft this episode. I don't think that's actually going to happen because there's actually a step that we need to do before we can do that. Well, I mean, we could do that. We could get it set up, but it wouldn't be able to do anything. It would just sit there. There's actually a step beforehand that we need to cover before we can do that. And that is in regards to the crafting CPUs and the crafting coprocessors. As you can see, I have a couple little holes that I dug here because right here is where I'm going to put these guys. Right here. Crafting coprocessor unit, crafting storage, 4K, 16K, 64K, etc. And a crafting monitor, which I'm not super worried about. And the crafting units. Now these guys are kind of, I'm not sure exactly what the word is, but kind of reminiscent of the old Applied Energistics, the original Applied Energistics, mostly because they look kind of similar to the old blocks. But they are a multi-block structure, like everything else in Applied Energistics, and they are responsible for the actual brains, if you will, behind the crafting processes. These guys that we have set up over here, or will eventually have over here, the molecular processors, or the molecular assemblers, I should say, these guys are the ones that actually hold the recipes for how to craft stuff, right? They hold the recipe for how to craft it. Well, something needs to interpret how to actually read those recipes. That's what the crafting CPUs or crafting storage devices are used for. So what we're going to do this episode is create for ourselves some 4K crafting storage cells and a whole bunch of crafting coprocessing unit. Because of that, we need to make a bunch of crafting units, which, as you can see, is not super cheap. Thankfully, however, I have went ahead and done all the work off camera as far as creating all the processors go. And actually, before I get ahead of myself, or before we get a little bit too into this, I want to actually mention something. If you remember, before I set up these ME controllers, this used to have 8 lines, indicating 8 different channels. Now it only has 1 channel, or 1 line. You're probably confused, like, what happened? What changed? Everything's still the same. These guys are still hooked up to this 1 line and all that. And this is still showing 8 of 8 channels. Why the hell does this say 1 of 8 channels? Well, that's because this, A, is a smart cable, and B, there is only 1 channel, this ME crafting terminal. Because this smart cable is now connected up to a bunch of ME controllers, like I said, all the brains and stuff that was over here is now over here. Before, this was just an ad hoc, like solo, all by itself, little basic system that can hold up to 8 channels. Now, however, because this we no longer need this smart cable here, what we can do is take one of our glass cables, put it down there like that, and everything turns back on. Because that smart cable was telling us that everything past that smart cable, everything going this direction of that smart cable on that line, there's only 1 channel connected to it. Which, it was true, just this crafting terminal. If we come down here and look around, everything underneath that crafting terminal, see, because the smart cable was here, everything down underneath it, which would be, you know, these guys, the storage cells, and then everything we've got going on down here in regards to the storage drawers with our ingots and stuff, that is where the rest of the channels come from. So now all this stuff is all set up and it's all on its own little line. Cool. Wasn't really anything but just a visual thing. Because that smart cable was there, it was just saying, hey, there's 1 channel going past me. That's all. So, what are we doing this episode? Let's get on with it. Let's get on with working on this episode. We got to get these crafting CPUs up and running. Because that's essentially what they are. It says crafting storage, but they're basically the CPUs. Because these guys are their co-processing units. Or, you know, CPUs also. But we'll get into a little bit more detail once we get these guys crafted, how exactly they work. But I know that I want 2 4K crafting storage. Which means I need to make a whole bunch of these guys. And in fact, I think I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 total. Wow. Wait, what am I missing? Oh, glass cable, which I have on me. Ha ha ha. I'm like, what? So if my math is correct, I need 10 of these guys. All right, I have 11, whatever. Cool. And then from there, I need to turn 2 of them into 4K crafting storage, which I went ahead and made the IMI. Oh, nice. We got a achievement. Next gen crafting. I went ahead and made the 4K storage components ahead of time because they take a little bit of time. So yeah, next gen crafting. Craft the crafting unit. Yeah. And alongside these crafting units, just like I said, we need these co-processing units, which I will explain here in a second. They need engineering processors, which I actually didn't remember to make. So hopefully I have enough. Nope. I'm short just a couple. I thought those guys needed something else, so that's okay. Oh, there we go. We got a bunch of diamonds now. I guess our ender core came across some diamonds, which that guy is still running. At some point, we should actually pop out there and see. How many of these did I want? I wanted 8 in total. So I need 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This should only take a sec, so I've got no problem with running down there and doing that. Silicon. Redstone. Sweet. So let me actually make these up really quick, and then I will come on back and we can discuss what these crafting storage units and these central or co-processing units will actually do for us. Because they work together. They work together to do some pretty cool stuff. Actually, I guess I can explain it while I'm making these. Oh, I already have a bunch of silicon. Like I said, I was down here making a bunch of this stuff ahead of time, so I didn't have to do what I'm doing right now on camera. But, oh well. Oh well. So, the easiest way to explain the crafting storage and the co-processing units is like this. As I mentioned earlier, the crafting storage is needed. These guys work in tandem to craft the stuff for you. They work as the brain to interpret the patterns that you'll put in the molecular assemblers, which we'll probably get to next episode, or the end of this episode, depending on how long this takes. Now, your 4K crafting storage, they're kind of the main component. You don't need crafting co-processing units, although I think you might actually need at least one crafting co-processing unit. But regardless, you 100% need these crafting storage because your system needs somewhere to put the components, per se, while it's creating them. So a 4K crafting storage for me is perfect because I'm not going to be making like 10,000 of something. So like if you were going to make 10,000 torches, you would probably need something bigger than a 4K crafting storage. It kind of works similarly to the storage components that we have back up there where we have all of our disk drives and everything. It's a little different in how much room it uses, but a good rule of thumb is just to assume about 1 byte per item. So, yeah. There we go. So that kind of explains these 4K crafting storage. They're pretty much exactly what they say. They store the items for crafting. Now, the crafting co-processing units, they're what's going to... Oh, also, I should mention, before I go into that, you can only do however many tasks, however many crafting tasks per crafting storage unit. So we have 2 of these guys. That means that we can queue up 2 things to be crafted, 2 different things. So if we wanted to create furnaces and torches, we would be able to do so because we have 2 4K crafting storages. See? Now, if we wanted to do furnaces, torches, and sleeping bags, we couldn't. It would have to wait. It would have to wait until either the furnaces were done or the torches were done. Then it could do the sleeping bag. Make sense? All right, so we got these guys now. We can continue what we were doing. And actually, I guess we didn't need to run all the way up here to do that. We can just do that. Since I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I guess I didn't have them in my inventory. There we go. So we got our 5 co-processing units. So what do the co-processing units do? Well, let's first get these guys down. They look pretty nifty. As I mentioned, they are multi-block structures. So your core processing units, you're going to want to have around your crafting storage. Like that. I'm not really sure why they did that. They're supposed to kind of connect the texture up, and they did for a moment, and then they derped. So I'm thinking they probably need power. But anyway, if you put them around there like that, what they're going to actually let's get these guys powered before we start blabbing too much about them. which brings me to my smart cable, and ooh, I might need more of these. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's all right. Should be able to make some more. Sweet. So these guys, these crafting co-processing units are going to allow you to do multiple steps in a crafting task, which I'll go into a little bit more here in a second. Multiple steps being, for example, if you have to make a couple things like, oh, you know what's a really good example? The carpenter. The carpenter is a really good example of something with some very basic crafting steps. So if we were going to make this carpenter, right? We actually have two different steps we have to make. There's the crafting of the carpenter itself and the crafting of the sturdy casing. Now, if we were to queue up this carpenter, like, hey, can you make me a carpenter, please? It would, with only one of these guys, I don't think you'd be able to do it. It would take a little bit of extra time because it would first have to create the sturdy casing. Actually, I guess this isn't a good example because there's only one extra step. What's a good... Oh, here we go, actually. Here's a good one. The carpenter's bed. Carpenter's bed is a good example because this has multiple steps. Not just one crafting step. Multiple steps meaning you have to make the wood into sticks, and the sticks into the carpenter, and so on and so forth. So, if you were to queue up this carpenter's bed, it would first need to make sticks. It would also need to make these carpenter's blocks. So if you had no carpenter's blocks in your inventory, like in your Applied Energistics inventory, and you had no sticks, having multiple of these co-crafting or these co-processing units means that it would be able to create the sticks and the carpenter's blocks at the same time. It wouldn't have to wait for one and then wait for the next. Like, it wouldn't need to make the sticks and then make the carpenter's blocks and then make the bed. It'd be able to make the carpenter's blocks and the sticks at the same time, because you have these co-processing units. So one could be doing sticks, one could be doing the carpenter's blocks, and then the last one can be making the bed once those two things are done. Make sense? Yeah. Hopefully makes sense. So I need much, much more of these guys, which I could have made more of if I didn't have them in my inventory. Oh no, did I run out of flux crystals already? No! Not a big deal. Oh yeah, by the way, I also just kind of said screw it and just ended up doing this the somewhat ugly way. Oh well. Oh man, how am I going to get in here? I don't want to mess up my stuffs. Alright, let's do this. Put this guy down there like that, and... Oh, you know what? You know what these guys probably need? Energy acceptors. Energy acceptors. So let me actually... Give me a moment. Let me make some energy acceptors up real quick. I completely forgot about that. Or do they need energy acceptors? I'm pretty sure that they need energy acceptors. Wait, why would they need energy acceptors? This stuff all is connected up. Let me hook this up. Let me see if I'm a crazy person. I didn't want to have to break all this stuff up, but whatever. Yeah, they're not connecting, huh? All right, no worries, no worries. I can get an energy acceptor in here. So give me a moment. I'll get an energy acceptor built up. Although, unless it's really easy. There we go. Energy acceptor. Quartz glass. Why you gotta do this to me? Why you gotta do this to me, quartz glass? I'm gonna need two, but I can just do one for now. No big deal. Alright, so energy acceptor can probably sit right underneath this guy. Whoops. Like that. Or am I doing it backwards? No! I thought I was all super prepared and was like awesome and doing everything correctly, and then no. Or maybe you need... Why aren't you connecting? Give me a moment. I'll be right back. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I am back, and what I did is I went ahead and removed the co-processing units and then hooked it up, and everything's happy now. So let's add the co-processing units now. Sweet. And then, whoop, I should be able to add another one like that. And then it derps out. I wonder why that is. So you said the crafting storage itself only uses one channel, by the way, which is really nice, actually. How about on top? Nope. Huh. I'm actually not sure why that's derping out like that. That's a little weird. I guess I'll just go ahead and leave those guys like that. That is something... There might be some behind-the-scenes stuff that's messing with it. I'm not honestly sure why it's not liking extras. See, and there it goes. It's all good with that one. That's really weird. Well, might be some weird behind-the-scenes stuff that I may have forgotten about or something along those lines. But what I can go ahead and do is connect the rest of this stuff up. Since these guys are working now, as you can see, they have a little bit of an interface, or a GUI, if you will. Crafting status, you can right-click and see what it's working on. Now, if I went ahead and made the... What do you call it? This guy, the crafting monitor. If we made this guy and connected it up, we'd be able to... Oh, nice. It uses... Crafting unit storage monitor. Yeah. We'd be able to connect that guy up and actually just be able to visually see just by looking at it what he's working on. But I don't really need to do that. I'm not worried about that one too much. Can't connect you yet, yeah, because you're not powered up. You're powered, so you're on. You can see he's a little bit brighter than these guys. Cool. So now that we have that set up, that means we have the ability to actually craft things. Well, soon. Soon we'll have the ability to craft things. But let's actually, for now, let's pick this up so we can continue on what we're doing. Then I'll create the second one probably off camera. It makes a little bit more sense to me. So let's put those guys down like that. Cool. So down here at the bottom, actually I guess, no, down here at the bottom I want a smart cable just so I can kind of see, I guess, what I'm doing. Then from here, we need to get our almighty interface. So the way that I'm going to do this is probably the least efficient way. Well, maybe not the least efficient way. It's fairly efficient, but there are a few ways to do this. But I'm going to start off this way. One interface in the middle with a bunch of interfaces just going straight up. Because the molecular assemblers themselves don't actually use a channel. Remember, any stuff that actually directly interacts with an item is going to use a channel. If it doesn't directly interact with an item, as in items passing in and out of it or something like that. Actually, even then, items passing in and out doesn't really seem to cause anything because I think that's how molecular assemblers work. But anyway, they're not too expensive to make. Fairly straightforward. Just require annihilation core, formation core. Pretty easy. So, molek. We're going to make 4. Oh, do I not have any of these on hand? One of the first things, honestly, that's really nice to make start auto-crafting are these guys, the formation cores and annihilation cores. Alright, so I need to make some more Fluix dust, or some more Fluix crystals charged, Certus quartz, another quartz, redstone dust. I thought I made a big chunk of them, but I guess not. Ooh, I'm going to need some more charged Certus quartz here soon. Let me make some of these and I will be right back. Alright, so I'm back and I figured out the issue with these guys. They can only be squares or rectangles. Their multi-block structure prevents them from being awkward shapes like pluses or L's or H's or anything like that. They all have to be touching each other basically, which is easy enough to do. As you can see, all these guys are turned on now, which means we can do some pretty serious crafting with these guys. The 4K crafting storages are honestly like pretty good. Like once you've got the 4K ones, you're pretty much good to go. Like I said, unless you're crafting thousands or hundreds of something, you shouldn't run into any issues with these guys being slow or anything like that. So yeah, perfect. Got these guys up and running. We now have ourselves some crafting co-processing units. We've got a nice big one, so we can do some recipes with lots of steps, if you would. Since we have all these co-processing units, lots of steps are able to be done all at the same time. Quite nice. And then this little guy over here, which isn't quite hooked up yet, but he will be. He'll be able to do more simple things that don't necessarily have as many crafting steps, like a furnace or a crafting table. So let's do these guys. Molecular assembler. There you are. Boom. So yeah, I went ahead and made the formation and annihilation cores off camera. Pretty easy to do. And yeah, there we go. Wait, I thought I had more glass than that. Oh, well, whatever. I only really needed 4 for now. So how do these guys work? Well, it's pretty easy. Like that. As you can see, they light up, look all cool. You can put these guys in there just like this. So the interface is where you get a lot of your, all the crafting recipes kind of stem from. The molecular assembler itself is what does the crafting. As you can see, there's a crafting recipe, like there's a crafting table in here that you can use to craft stuff. The interface is what's going to hold our patterns that tell the molecular assemblers how to craft stuff. And we can do interfaces going all the way up, and we can do interfaces on the corners too. So, yeah. We have plenty of room for crafting recipes. Hell yeah. But I think that's going to go ahead and be it for this episode. Next episode, we're going to come by and we're going to get these guys actually crafting stuff for us. Now that we have the infrastructure set up in regards to the molecular assemblers, an interface to communicate with the molecular assemblers and the rest of the applied energistics system, our awesome 4K crafting storage, and its co-processing units that are going to allow it to craft large, complicated things, but maybe not a whole bunch of those large, complicated things. And then we have this little guy over here that's not quite ready to go yet. Now, I say you can't quite craft a whole bunch. You can. Again, it just depends on how complicated, the thing is that you're making. Like, you could probably make, I don't know, 1,000 crafting tables with this guy. You aren't going to use any of these you could make 1,000 crafting tables with this guy, but you wouldn't be able to make 1,000, I can't think of something complicated enough. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. A little bit of a dive into the kind of the really important, honestly, infrastructure of applied energistics over the past couple days. These things are what's really going to allow you to jump into the really, really, really cool stuff that you could do with applied energistics. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said, next episode we're going to come back and actually start auto-crafting some stuff. So I hope to see you there. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.